everyone. Welcome back to Economic Vitality Unplugged, the podcast where we explore the people, businesses, and ideas driving growth right here in Tallahassee, Leon County. I'm your host, Keith Bowers, the Director of the Office of Economic Vitality. And today's conversation is one I'm especially looking forward to because we're highlighting a business that operates behind the scenes but plays a critical role in keeping our local economy moving. Joining us today is Ana Melendez, the owner of A&E Wholesale of North Florida. Anna also serves on our Citizens Advisory Committee, and she brings a valuable insight and perspective to our work across the community. Anna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Keith. I'm excited to be here. And, I've been here now 10 years in our beautiful city of Tallahassee. So I'm really excited to share my story today.
For those folks that may not be familiar, tell us a little bit about A&E and what you do.
Sure. So A&E Wholesale is a distributor of convenience store products. We have our warehouse here in Tallahassee, and from this location, we distribute to over 1,200 stores in North Florida and South Georgia. And we have approximately 3,000 items in categories ranging from candy to that gas station medicine that you see where it's just 2 packs, to all sorts of juices, water, sodas, different cigars. So a lot of different items within those 3,000 SKUs.
So you deliver to these convenience stores. You basically help them stock their shelves and they order directly from you. So logistically, how does that work?
We're a private carrier, so we don't use a lot of people do third-party shipping, but right here in Tallahassee, we have our own trucks and our own vans. So we have our own delivery vehicles that get loaded in our warehouse here, and then we go out and distribute to convenience stores, and it can be convenience stores with gas. It can be convenience stores that are in your local neighborhood store. It can be Dollar Generals, Family Dollars, and we also service liquor stores because a lot of the juices they buy from us. We don't sell alcohol, but everything else. So the liquor stores love to have the access to the juices. And another pretty unique thing about us is that we are open to our customers, so our own customers can come for pickups. So they can either call our customer care and pick up, or they can come here and visually see items, because sometimes, especially in the candy category, you have Gobstoppers and Mike and Ike's, and there's all sorts of different candies. And sometimes they really like to come here and see for themselves what we have and what's in stock versus going on our website and looking at the availability. That may take a little bit more time. So they do have that option to come shop.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, businesses like yours are really like the backbone of our local business ecosystems, because you're supporting the businesses our residents interact with on a day-to-day basis. I mean, everybody goes to the gas station. Everybody has an opportunity to go inside and purchase goods. So your business is basically fueling the access to those items on a day-to-day basis.
It really goes a little bit even beyond that, which is the things that people just really don't see. The amount of work that has to go into getting these products to our warehouse. Every week we consistently negotiate the cost of goods, because at the end of the day, the consumer has a certain threshold in pricing. So we need to make sure there's enough margin for ourselves plus the retailer. So the negotiations are constant on those cost of goods. But then not only that, when you look at the makeup of the actual retailers, you have the Wawas of the world that are more national chains that have a lot of clout because they have a lot of cash, a lot of capital. They don't have to manage their cash flow versus an independent, let's say a store owner that just owns one store here in Tallahassee, or maybe they own several stores, but they need to really be careful with their cash management. So we do have instances where, if they're trying to buy from a national distributor, so we are regional, but a national distributor such as, let's say, McLean, McLean is a 60 billion, I believe, right now, $60 billion distributor in the United States. So they have very strict rules for their customers. So they may say, listen, your minimum order quantity is 1,000 or $1,500, and you have to pay up front, or or we have to draft you. So we have a very special relationship with our local business owners that maybe we've been in business with them for 15 years and they need a week to pay. So we support them in that way, which is very unique and very rare that we have that relationship with these retailers. So maybe they say, you know what, I can't get a contract with this entity or this other entity. And it's easier to do business with my regional retailer, and I don't have to have this massive contract with a minimum. We don't have any order minimums. Let's say they just need one box of candy, they can come here and order it. And we don't have minimums in our deliveries because we have such a wide range of profit already spread out through that route that we're able to support our local community. And within Leon County, we're the only distributor that goes to Leon County Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So sometimes if they skip a delivery, if something happens, the other distributors usually just go once per week or once every other week. So we're there 4 days on the route in Leon County. And we're the only distributor on Monday that they can actually get same day delivery. And this kind of originated when, FSU, there's events during the weekend. All these people, our population goes to these convenience stores. And
Right.
then on Monday morning, it's, oh, wow, we're out of this. And
Yeah.
we don't have time to get a delivery. So if they get their order in by 8 a.m., from 7 to 8, they can call in our customer care and they'll get it on delivery for them and they can have it that same day.
That's amazing. I mean, and I never knew that aspect of it, but that's very helpful. The fact that you're basically extending credit terms to these small businesses, which allows them to stock their shelves, to sell their products, and then pay you later. I'm sure that makes a difference for a lot of our local small businesses.
Like I said, we have these relationships. The business, when I bought it in 2016, it was already 18 years old. So we're going to have our 28th year anniversary of the name A&E, but as an owner for myself, it will be our 10-year anniversary, which is massive. And it's through these relationships that really builds the bonds with the local companies that may need some help. So, I have an open door policy. Even if my door is closed, it's open. Customers come in sometimes and say, hey, I really need to talk to Ana, and they can come in. And sometimes which is really an even other bucket of value here, which is pretty unique, is sometimes they actually want to sell products. So sometimes they say, oh, I started this business, or my cousin started this business, and we really want to see if we can sell something. And so it's really unique. Usually with large, even a regional distributor, you need scale in order to make a profit, and it's very much a no answer. But with us, if I have space, we will say, okay, we can hold it here. If we make some space for you, we can try to sell it to our customers. And if you want to try and go and sell it, so we've supported customers before that want to sell us products. So that's very unique.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. So I'm going to ask you a question. So in a industry like this, traditionally, and correct me if I'm wrong, but traditionally, these types of industry operators are male operators. It's a dominated industry by men. What's that experience been like for you?
Well, this is one of those subjects I could talk about probably for days and days. A lot of my friends say, wow, you have lived so many lifetimes. I was originally born in Mexico City, and when I was 7, we moved to Columbus, Ohio. And I was raised by very strong men that treated me like a queen. So I know I really owe a lot of my patience, if you will, and my understanding and high level viewpoints, my mother's dad was the director for transportation for the entire country of Mexico. And, he was the one that taught me about break-even analyses. And he brought Mercedes truck into the country of Mexico. And he was always one of my mentors. And my father's father, he was incredible. He worked for Heinz and invented one of their industrial ovens. So he was always up there in Pittsburgh, from Mexico City going up to Pittsburgh. And then he ended up being a consultant for IBM. So learned other things from him. And then, I worked for my dad at a very young age. So my background really is in financial analyses. And I opened an office for him in Mexico City when I graduated from Ohio State. And that was really interesting because a lot of these gender roles and biases continue on. And of course, it is difficult, but I think the confidence that these people in my life, and even my mother, as her experience, that they have taught me really didn't restrain me from going into distribution. And that is a pretty unique story in and of itself. But basically, through my mentors and through, I've always basically been in male-dominated environments. I really actually love challenges. I love solving puzzles. I love feeling uncomfortable when, there's a stressful situation and they think I can't do something, but I come with a very creative solution because of my unique talents and tools I bring to the table. So for me, it's been, obviously trials and tribulations, but there's always a very interesting silver lining that I try to be positive and also teach forward to my mentees.
Yeah, that's excellent. And one of the things, I mean, that is incredibly valuable, and I think I hope that our listeners will kind of take heed to some of your words, because it just seems like you have been immersed in business for a very long time, and having to navigate that has only made you stronger and smarter and more resilient. So, I mean, I think that's a very strong competitive advantage, and so kudos to you. Um, that's amazing. So, tell us a little bit about what your typical day looks like at A&E Wholesale.
Okay, this is the fun part because it always changes. And this is why I really kind of gravitated to wholesale distribution. I never in my life thought I was going to do distribution. It was actually because they needed someone to interview. So I ended up getting my MBA at Ohio State. And the lady in the career services office said, no one signed up to interview with this wholesaler. So I ended up interviewing and I loved it. Like I said, I love puzzles. I love everything to do with engineering. I race supercars. I love design. So, a day in my life, basically, I plan it. Distribution is, especially because it's a privately held company and it's not this massive national chain. So it's a very different, a CEO that has a lot of cash and capital investment can focus on strategy. And I can tell you the day-to-day of my day-to-day today, after 10 years of owning it, is very different than my day-to-day when I started. So when I started, when I first got in, my day-to-day was I was here from 6:30 in the morning. I would leave my apartment at 6 a.m. with a 1-year-old. So my mother came to call me, but I would be here from 6:30 in the morning, probably around till anywhere from 8 to 11 p.m. Because those three main buckets, people, processes, and technology, were not defined. I had to reinvent basically every facet of that. So probably around the first 3 to 4 years, my schedule was very difficult. Like I said, from anywhere from 6:30 to 8:30 in the morning all the way to night, and then every weekend. And then when we finally were able to implement the things that I needed, it was around year 5 that we finally turned the corner. And then I was able to focus more on analytics, really looking to see how these categories were being managed. We did a whole SKU optimization project so that we were more efficient when caring for our customers. And now in year 10, I'm not out of the woods yet. I have July is when I'm finished paying my 10-year SBA loan, which is going to be awesome, but there's still a lot of work to do. When you have debt, and people forget that business owners usually have a lot of debt, and that the debt is good if you know how to manage it. Debt is there for a great reason. So SBA is great. You can open a business, you can find a business, but you really have to be careful when managing your accounting. So now a lot of my one part of my day-to-day that has been consistent during these 10 years is accounting. And that's what I always advise. Don't be scared of numbers. Don't be scared of accounting. It's so important. It's the backbone of your company. If you don't know, people talk so much about revenue stuff, but that means absolutely nothing. You don't know your gross profit. You don't know all your expense lines, your net income, what your contribution margin is, what your cash position is. There's so many different facets. You don't know that constantly, then you can get in trouble and things can go south really fast if you have a private health business. So and then, then there's those days where I can get time and drive the forklift. There's those days where I can back up a truck or, have a little quick meeting with my warehouse staff or talk to my customer care or take, my general manager out to lunch or treat him to a nice dinner or something to be thankful for all that my employees do for me. So every day is a little different, but on a consistent basis, I would say really it's about numbers, about analysis, a lot of accounting, and just trying to be as, I hold myself as accountable as I can so that I can stay in business and be there for the 20 plus families that help.
Yeah. So, I mean, your journey and what you've described is just so strategic and methodical. I love the way that you sort of like compartmentalize the various phases of the growth of your business, and it seems like now you're shifting more. Um, you're allocating more of your time and attention to the actual growth of the business and where it is going for the next 5 to 10 years, um, and using a lot of data and analytical tools to make sure that you're on the right track.
Yes, I had this discussion with my father, who is still in business and has some pretty cool company. He was just here in Tallahassee, and I had the discussion with him a couple of weeks ago, and I said, "This is unbelievable." So I used to work at a Fortune 500. It's that one distributor that I interviewed with, so after my MBA, I moved to Chicago, and I worked for a $6 billion distributor. And out of the $6 billion, I managed around 350 million. So my P&L was 350 million, and I was around 22. And so
Yeah.
I would have to go to IT on the first floor and get these massive dumps of data so that I could do analytics and run these numbers on my Excel to see how I could actually manage my SKUs and my categories. And like I said, do the SKU rationalization. And it's not stagnant. You have to keep reanalyzing things because the market shifts, your consumer preference shifts, your competition shifts. And, now we took my SKUs and we put them into AI. And the work that used to take me probably 4 to 6 hours took 2 minutes. So for me, I'm just so excited to see the advancements in technology, to see that I can, human plus machine, I can really tailor. And, the initial round of analysis, there were things that were incorrect, right? Because I said, no, these products, they actually are not available anymore. They're discontinued. So the human will always be so important, but it really is how do you manage that symbiotic relationship with the human and the machine and the AI? I think it's really exciting. And people forget that AI and expert systems have been around for so long. My science fair projects when I was in 8th grade was with AI and expert systems on a system that my dad was working with this engineering company.
Okay. Yeah. And you mentioned IBM, and they came out with IBM Watson years and years ago.
Yes, my actually used to live in Abu Dhabi, and my husband did work for Mubadala with all the chip manufacturing, and one of his contacts there ended up working on the Watson project. So people have been kind of stirring and thinking about what's going to happen. I think I talk a lot about exponential curves. We've been on the linear part of the exponential curve, and I think we're about to really accelerate and turn that curve and say, wow, this technology is coming fast, but how do we really, how can we be responsible when we make it, sure that it's like it's ethical, moral, and responsible. But in the distribution side, I think that there will be a lot of positives and a lot of really great things that we can do. For at the end, it's all about the consumer, for that end consumer. When you and I go to a convenience store, it used to be a quick in and out, grabbing that grocery or something like that. But now these convenience stores need to survive. So they're realigning to what people want. They want clean bathrooms. They want an experience. We can see what Waller they're doing. They want food ready, food that is made for you. Order what you want,
Right.
how you like it, go and pick it up. That is all brand new to convenience. And so now these independents that have to kind of step back and say, okay, how can I contribute and have a destination and have food bathrooms, have a food service that my area around me wants? There's a lot of consolidation also happening on that retail level. So we're on the wholesale level trying to prepare to see, what the customers needs, how they're shifting, and then how the retailers are shifting so that we can provide them the products.
And that's a really good segue. You're talking about shifting. Um, right now, as we talk, gas prices are at an all-time high, and obviously, it has a direct impact on a business like yours that relies on transportation to get products from point A to point B. Give us a little insight as to how that's impacting your business and maybe some strategies that you have implemented to sort of mitigate that impact.
Well, we're definitely being smarter about our routing. We use software, but there's a couple assumptions that we've got to tweak so that our drivers are just a little bit more efficient. There's a couple routes we've been able to consolidate, but the diesel pricing is went through the roof, and we're buying more vans versus the trucks, and the vans are more agile, just in and out versus trying to park a big truck at a store. So we're shifting a little bit of our approach on how we're delivering to the convenience stores. There's, at the end of the day, sometimes you can only do so much. So our accounting, like I said, accounting is very important. We review every expense line. Is there anything else that we really don't need that is just a nice to have for now? Just be realistic. And I really tell that to my mentees as well. How can you be as realistic as possible with what you actually, and sometimes you're like, oh, but my customers really want this, but sometimes they don't see those things. So at the end of the day, we have to be careful with expenses, and we don't have semis, so the semis are coming in to deliver to us. So the 18-wheelers come here to our warehouse and deliver all the pallets, anywhere from 2 to 21 pallets almost every day. And then we have to unload everything. And like I said, we at least don't deliver with trucks because I know they're struggling. So when we're getting deliveries, now we have to negotiate the delivery fee. Because some of our vendors tie in, they spread it out across the units that we order, so they don't have a delivery fee, but some do, and their delivery fees are doubling. So before we order, we really have to check on the delivery fee because that can completely change the margin that we have. So it's just navigating a different landscape.
Yeah, and sounds like you're making the pivots again, to try to mitigate the impact that inflation and gas prices have caused throughout the world. So let me ask you a question. You said something that piqued my interest earlier. You said casually that you race supercars. How does-
So
Tell us.
my family, ever since I was, I would say probably around 7, 8 years old, my mom's brother was best friends, well, very close to Adrian Fernandez. So since we were very young, we all loved, and I loved design. So I loved cars. You know, I had Barbies and I had cars. My parents never stopped me. I actually had little trucks too. I love cement trucks. Those cement trucks were my jam. But you know, my parents both are very, very open and let me have whatever, you know, different toys. And I was always very fascinated by the mechanics of vehicles and trucks. And so when we started going to the races, Adrian would get us pit passes. And so we would sit in the pit with the engineers, and they, you know, I was a little girl, they would plop me down on a stack of tires. I would literally chill with the tire engine, you know, the engineers, and they would talk to me and tell me, and I would ask them questions. And I used to do go-kart racing. So I would race those little go-karts. And that's, I think, what really kind of sparked my need for speed. I really enjoy the physics of it, and, you know, the kind of demands and how something that is engineered so beautifully and work with a human or not, because I can tell. So my favorite, when I lived in Abu Dhabi, we would go to Dubai, and I raced in the Dubai Autodrome. And so that was the best, that was an awesome experience because it was with my best instructor. He was from Australia. And so I learned a lot from him about racing. Those were R8s. So we would warm up the track with Audi TTs, and then we go on with an R8. And the R8s, man, those are, they, yeah, I can try to put in words, but it's almost like, you know, the car really works with you. The tires hug the ground, the gravel. Even when you're going almost 200 miles an hour, you feel like the car is working. But I raced Ferraris, and that is complete. The Ferrari owns you, and it's
Right.
very cold. It's a cold experience versus how an Audi feels. And so I steer away from, you know, Ferraris are beautiful, they're gorgeous, but for driving, I love, you know, the Audi, the R8 V10 Lambo engine. I mean, it's just the sounds, everything.
It's a beautiful vehicle too.
It's awesome. I love it. Yeah. So I've always been, and I come from a long line of engineers from my father. My brother he's in motorsports, so he was with the Chip Ganassi team, and he won his Indy racing rings, and now he's working for General Motors and Cadillac, because Motors bought Cadillac. And so now Cadillac has that Formula One car coming this season. And so, you know, now with the Netflix series, Formula One's pretty popular, but we've been going to Formula One for a while, and it's exciting to see people really get into it.
Yeah. Well, that's a little known fact about Ana Melendez. So, well, as we start to wrap up, talk to us about what's next. What do you see on the horizon for A&E Wholesale?
Well, there's two buckets here, two main facets that I really want to work on. Like I said, in July, I'm done paying my 10-year SBA loan. So having an extra cash on hand, I can now, my dream is, I love strategy. My dream is really looking at strategy, you know, doing some competitive analysis and game theory, and what can happen here, and what if I did this, and what if I did that, and the other guy could do this or that, or so, you know, I think it's going to be a really interesting time for me to, now that I have, you know, we have ERP, Oracle ERP system. It's fantastic. It's that sweet. So now that I've done all the work with technology, we have the technology that, well, the future, it'll change, but In the meantime, we have a great ERP system. We have great processes. The people are awesome. We have amazing employees that work and are great with teamwork. So really right now, I want to look at, do I expand east? Do I expand west? Or how much more can I support our local counties? Are there gaps in our local counties that I didn't have that cash on hand to support? So right now we're in the middle of our strategic planning, but there's a lot of great opportunities. And Florida is an amazing state to be in. It's a very great state. So we're working on that. But really, my main purpose and the reason why I really wanted to buy A&E was I've always wanted to buy a business and have this experience and scale it and grow it, make it even more profitable. But really, I've always wanted to have a charitable arm. So I want to start another entity that's kind of tied in where I can take part of my net income and donate it to children's medical debt. So, when I moved to Tallahassee and Addison, my husband travels Monday through Friday, but when I was home alone, Addison was a little baby, 1 year old, and there's an emergency. I was so blessed to be able to go to the emergency room, have insurance, and get the bill, and I could afford it. But nowadays, these medical bills, and what if you're a child recent arm? Who has the extra, even with insurance, it's really, really difficult to have extra expenses. So I talked to someone at the hospital because usually they write off at the end of their fiscal year, they write off their debt and they sell it to collections agencies for pennies on the dollar. Right. So then it goes into collections. So instead of going into collections, I can tell the hospital, can you please give me the debt from 1 day old to 10 years old, something like that. And then say, instead of selling it to the collections agency, why don't I take it and I can pay it? My accountant can then give a letter to the parents saying the child's, medical expense has been paid. So that's the eventual goal, is to have a charity arm that helps with medical expenses for children. But A&E will always have fun with our strategy. There always will be different things that we can do. And we have built an amazing base here that we will continue. But it would be awesome to have that charity part.
Well, that is an awesome goal and so admirable of you to be that generous and caring. So
The world
I applaud you.
The world has given me so much. I am so grateful. So it is something that so wonderful to have.
Yeah. Well, Ana, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for the work that you're doing to support businesses across our region. Businesses like yours, they may operate behind the scenes, but they're essential to the strength and resilience of our local economy. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Ana, you're doing so much with your company, and I just can't wait to see the next chapter. But thank you again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And to our listeners, we'll see you next time.